There are truths that, no matter how hard we try to hide them, life will eventually force us to face in the cruelest way. At the age of 64, inside his quiet Manhattan apartment, Michael J. Fox experienced that fateful moment. A sudden collapse onto the cold kitchen floor did not merely inflict physical pain, but also left him in a bitter situation, helplessly crawling inch by inch just to reach his phone and call for help. It was not simply an accident of old age, but an undeniable reality that closed a chapter of more than 30 years during which he had struggled to conceal and deny the shadow of Parkinson's disease. For more than 3 decades, the world knew only a resilient Michael J. Fox, with a smile that always seemed ready to appear and a source of energy that appeared never to run dry. Yet few knew that behind that aura and seemingly effortless optimism lay a hidden battle filled with sweat and tears. The fall that day shattered the final wall of defense. It raised a haunting question. When the last curtain of concealment is suddenly torn away, what truly awaits a Hollywood icon in the darkest corners of his life? Before the shadow of Parkinson's fell across his life, Michael J. Fox had been the living definition of the word brilliant. Yet his journey towards becoming a global icon began with a paradox, the most unexpected turns and the harshest twists of fate. Born in 1961 in Edmonton, Canada, young Michael grew up in a military family that moved constantly wherever duty called. A childhood without a permanent home taught him to adapt from an early age, but it was also filled with difficulties. In his youth, Michael's greatest dream was not to stand beneath the stage lights, but to become a professional ice hockey player. Yet fate poured cold water over that ambition when his height stopped at a modest 1.60 meters. His physical disadvantage closed the door to a sporting career and pushed the teenager towards a completely unexpected path, the drama club at his secondary school. It was that school stage that awakened a hidden fire within him. Despite the practical obstacles standing in his way, at the age of 17, Michael made a decision that was both bold and reckless. He left secondary school and his homeland behind to move to Los Angeles, the film capital, filled with challenges and temptations. With no connections and little to his name beyond his quick wit and determination to prove himself, he began struggling through the minor roles that paved the way for greater opportunities. The real turning point came in 1982, when he was cast as Alex P. Keaton in the sitcom Family Ties. His explosive energy, sharp intelligence, and understated charm transformed him into the biggest television star of the era, earning him 3 Emmy Awards and 1 Golden Globe, while also bringing him to his fateful love story with his future wife, Tracy Pollan. But the true height of his fame arrived in 1985, when the name Michael J. Fox became inseparable from the global cultural phenomenon Back to the Future. Playing the time-traveling Marty McFly, he entered a legendary work schedule, 20 hours a day, 6 days a week, constantly moving between film sets during the day and the sitcom set at night. That sacrifice of sweat and youth carried him to the absolute peak of fame, turning him into an idol for millions of teenagers in the late 1980s and early 1990s through hit productions such as Teen Wolf. At that moment, the world at Michael J. Fox's feet shone like a dream with no ending. No one, not even Michael himself, could have imagined that such a dazzling peak lay so close to the edge of a devastating diagnosis that was quietly counting down. At the height of his glory, when the whole world and his career seemed to stretch out before him, a cold and merciless event struck. In November 1990, while filming Doc Hollywood, Michael J. Fox woke up after a night of drinking and noticed that his little finger had begun to tremble uncontrollably. At first, it was merely a small sign, an unusual sensation that quickly passed. But before long, those subtle tremors spread, becoming a warning that could no longer be ignored. In 1991, the fateful diagnosis was delivered: early-onset Parkinson's disease. For a young man of just 29 at the height of his fame, the diagnosis felt like a thunderbolt. It was a progressive neurodegenerative disorder with no cure, one that would gradually take away his control over his own body. And so began a bitter parallel life that would last for 7 years. In public and beneath the stage lights, Michael remained an energetic, humorous, and charismatic star. To conceal symptoms that were becoming increasingly difficult to control, he resorted to a series of subtle tricks, constantly changing his posture, continually moving, or deliberately holding objects and props in productions such as Spin City, so that his trembling hand would appear to be part of the character. But when the cameras stopped rolling and the door to his room closed, a completely different world emerged. Behind the scenes came overwhelming fear. Waves of physical pain running through his body, constant loss of balance and moments of desperation that left him struggling to cope. There were even times when he became so overwhelmed that he would punch through a wall in frustration. Living alone with that secret turned out to be 1,000 times more exhausting and cruel than facing the light. As the shadow of the disease increasingly took over, Michael J. Fox's inner world gradually collapsed into loneliness. Rather than confront it, he chose to run from it. He threw himself into work at a relentless pace, deliberately pushing himself as far away from his family as possible, simply so he would not have to face the harsh reality that was consuming him day by day. But even the relentless cycle of work eventually came to a stop, and when it did, the fear returned with even greater force. Turning to alcohol seemed like the only escape, allowing him to numb his anxiety and forget the nightmare that was ravaging his body. He began drinking alone, slipping into endless nights of intoxication. More frightening still was the transformation of a man who had once been deeply sincere. He became increasingly skilled at hiding what was happening, calculating every move, concealing bottles and inventing hundreds of excuses to deceive his young wife, Tracy Pollan, about how much alcohol he had actually consumed. Alongside alcohol, Parkinson's medication, particularly dopamine, was also turned into a distorted survival tool. He did not take the medication simply to manage his condition. He used it like a harsh stopwatch. He calculated every minute, timing precisely when the medication would take effect and suppress the tremors, allowing him to keep his body steady before stepping into the light of the cameras or facing the public. His life at that time was completely controlled by pills and bottles of alcohol, sliding towards the brink of total destruction. The turning point finally came in 1992, on a haunting morning. After waking from a drunken night on the sofa, Michael opened his eyes and froze. Before him stood his wife, Tracy, looking at him with coldness and profound disappointment, while their young child, still helpless and bewildered, was crawling over him. There were no angry words or shouting. It was that look, together with his wife's icy question that cut like a knife. "Is this the man you wanted to marry?" that struck a devastating blow to his mind. That question completely shattered the protective shell of denial he had painstakingly built over the years. Realizing that he was about to lose the most precious thing in his life, Michael finally stopped. He embarked on the difficult journey of recovery from alcohol dependence, attending Alcoholics Anonymous, AA meetings, and committing himself to psychological therapy. Through sheer determination, he regained complete sobriety, maintained it consistently for more than 3 decades, and rewrote the answer he would give to his own life. After years of struggling to keep his condition hidden, Michael J. Fox understood that continuing to run away would only leave him more exhausted. In late November 1998, he decided to put an end to the game of hide-and-seek with the public. In a groundbreaking interview with veteran journalist Barbara Walters on ABC's 2020, accompanied by a powerful cover story in People magazine, Michael officially told the world that he had been living with Parkinson's disease for the past 7 years. The moment the curtain of secrecy was lifted was not a collapse, but a liberation. Rather than portraying himself as a suffering victim in need of sympathy, Michael chose an astonishingly resilient attitude. He openly said that he did not fight or simply endure the disease, because such an internal battle could only leave a person exhausted. Instead, he learned to accept it and live alongside it as normally as possible. Along with that admission, he revealed some of the starkest realities behind the glamour. Michael spoke openly about the risky brain surgery known as a thalamotomy in 1998, which involved destroying part of the relevant nerve tissue to reduce his tremors. He also did not shy away from sharing the painful absurdities of everyday life, such as having to sit in his car for hours waiting for the tremors to subside before daring to step onto the Golden Globe's red carpet. But the greatest impact of going public went far beyond a personal confession. Turning his own suffering into action, Michael J. Fox founded the Michael J. Fox Foundation for Parkinson's Research. What began as a deeply personal decision grew into the world's largest non-profit organization dedicated to funding research into the disease, raising more than $2 billion for scientific research. From a film star who had once found himself at a dead end, he rose to become a beacon of hope, inspiring others and helping change the course of life for millions of people with Parkinson's around the world. Stepping into the light did not mean that the road ahead would be covered in roses. When Michael J. Fox chose to live openly with his condition, he also made himself the target of harsh public scrutiny. The most intense moment came with the vicious criticism from conservative radio host Rush Limbaugh, who publicly accused Michael of faking or exaggerating his tremors in a political advertisement supporting stem cell research in an attempt to gain public sympathy. It was a malicious attack aimed directly at the dignity of a man struggling every day with physical decline. Yet the way Michael responded revealed the full measure of his character. Refusing to fall into the trap of becoming an angry victim, he chose composure. Michael understood that such a cruel attack did not necessarily come from personal hatred, but could arise from fear and profound misunderstanding of illness. That insight and compassion turned the insults to dust, leaving bitterness with the person who uttered them and respect for the man who endured them. Yet Michael's greatest challenge did not come from the words of the world, but from his own increasingly fragile body. In 2018, another serious medical event struck: the discovery of a benign but highly dangerous tumor pressing against his spinal cord. Without surgery, he was at risk of becoming paralyzed. Michael was forced to undergo a major operation carrying significant risks. The surgery successfully saved the use of his legs, but it came at a heavy price. He had to learn to walk again from the very beginning, facing severe pain and injuries that left deep physical and emotional scars. It was during that arduous period of recovery that another hard-earned lesson arrived. His deeply ingrained stubbornness and habit of refusing help from loved ones in order to prove that he could still manage on his own ultimately backfired. In a moment when he lost his balance inside his Manhattan apartment, that very rigidity led to the fateful fall that broke his arm. The collapse onto the cold kitchen floor mentioned at the beginning of the story. But sometimes a person has to fall hard before finally waking up to reality. That accident forced Michael to acknowledge a gentler truth. Courage is not only about pushing painfully forward or stubbornly fighting against the world. Sometimes it means learning to let go of pride, accepting the helping hand of others, and bowing to the limitations of a body that is growing older with the passing years. Michael J. Fox chose to face the world with complete openness through a documentary that truthfully captured his life with Parkinson's, without hiding or embellishing anything, from unsteady steps to falls on the street. Rather than giving in to despair, he used his sharp sense of humor as a weapon, even incorporating his own symptoms into his acclaimed performances in The Good Wife and Curb Your Enthusiasm. From that adversity, he offered a definition that stunned many people. He called Parkinson's a gift. Although the disease took away his health, it also taught him compassion, deep empathy, and the opportunity to form more genuine connections with other people. In the darkest chapter of his fate, it ultimately lit the brightest light within his character. Michael J. Fox's more than 3-decade journey of confronting adversity eventually reached some of the highest and most distinguished heights of recognition. In 2025, he was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the highest civilian honor in the United States, as a profound recognition of his extraordinary contributions not only to the arts but to humanity as a whole. But Michael's greatest legacy does not lie in prestigious trophies or distinguished medals. It lies in the way he made his way through the storms, proving that a person's worth has never been defined by illness or by the times they have fallen, but by the courage to choose to rise again, turn pain into a guiding light, and devote the rest of one's life to supporting others who are facing their own struggles. What do you think about Michael J. Fox's remarkable journey of resilience and extraordinary strength? Leave a comment and share your thoughts, and don't forget to subscribe for more inspiring stories.